Well, okay, so hi. We're just going to get started on our cushions or our blankets or towel if you have one. So just fold it up, sort of like that, if you can see that way. And then just sitting in a comfortable cross-leg position. Good. Okay, so when you're seated, just resting the hands down onto the thighs here and consciously lifting up through the crown of the head. Drop the shoulders down. Good. And then just trying to figure out where your center is here. So moving a little bit forward of the center just for a moment or two, and then coming back into center and then back behind it. Good. And then sitting right onto the sit bones in the middle, and then just closing the eyes. So the breath is soft here. You're breathing in and out through the nose. And we just start to bring a little bit of awareness now to the condition of our breath. So perhaps it's quite shallow up in the chest, or maybe it feels a little bit lower down towards the center. Or maybe it feels quite low right down into your belly. All of those are fine. You don't need to change it. You're just observing. And if you find that your mind starts to wander away, or is thinking of what you have to do after the class or what happened before, just bring it back to the breath. So you're noticing as the air comes in through the nose. Maybe you're observing the temperature of the breath as it comes in. Is it cool? Is it warm? What parts of your body move as you inhale? What parts move when you exhale? Is your inhale longer or shorter than your exhale? We're going to start to deepen the breath now. So consciously inhaling through the nose, and as you inhale, allow the belly to fill like a big balloon. And then as you exhale through the nose, just very gently drawing the belly button back in towards the spine. And just continuing that breath for the next couple of moments. And we're going to bring a little count into the breath now. So as you inhale, I want you to count to 4. And then as you exhale, I want to see if you can count to 6. So let's start together. Inhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhaling 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And just continuing that way now on your own. Let's do 3 more rounds of breath. And when you're finished, just coming back to the natural rhythm of your own breath. And just observing again what the condition of the breath is or how it feels. Good. And just gently open the eyes. Good, okay, and then from here, I'm just going to nod the chin down towards the chest, but I want you to lengthen up through the spine, because sometimes you find if you've been in a seated position for a while and breathing, you tend to kind of curl back into the spine. So just lift up through the crown of the head and nod the chin then gently towards the chest. So just opening up through the back of the neck. Good, and then just lift and tilt the chin very gently and slowly up towards the ceiling. Good, and then come back into center, and then you're going to drop the ear down towards the right shoulder. Good, back to center, and the same on that other side. So dropping the ear down the shoulders, shoulder blades moving down the back. And then coming back into center. And again, just drop the ear down towards the right side. And then take your hand, your right hand, and just place the fingertips to the left ear, to the tip of the left ear. And allow the weight of the arm just to extend the stretch on that left side a little bit. But you're not pulling on the head or the neck. You're just Allowing the weight gently to open up. If you want to, you can take the left fingertips and walk them away from you on the floor. And then very gently just tilt the chin down a little. So you feel the stretch change on that left side where it is. And then bring it back. And then just release the hand and allow the head to float back up to center. Lovely. And then the same with the other side. So you're dropping the ear down. And if you want, then those left fingertips coming up. And you're walking the right fingertips away. And then tilting the chin down very gently. Good. Bringing it back. Release the hand and let the head float back up to center. Lovely. Okay, so coming off the cushions, we're going to come to a lying down position. If you want to use your cushions or blankets as a head, something for your head, then go ahead and do that. It can be helpful if you're tied across the chest and you feel like you're kind of lifting off the floor. This under the head can be good. So just rolling down to the floor. Good. Let's keep the knees bent for the first little while. We're just going to take the right knee in, interlace the fingers and press them down on the top of the leg. It can go underneath the knee either, just see which is more comfortable for you. Good. So you're just drawing that right knee into the outside of those right ribs very gently. Good. And then just see how it feels then to extend that left foot away from you with the toes pointed up towards the ceiling. Good. And then release the right knee and bring the knee and the hip in line with each other. Good. And you're just going to start to do little circles with the hip here. So imagine you're drawing a circle with your knee, if you like. Good. And you're trying to keep the leg in a right angle, so your foot isn't dropping down at all. Good. You can start to make the circles a little bit bigger. Try and keep the shoulders and the ribs down on the floor so they're not rolling with you. And then change directions. Circles can be really small here, they don't have to be big at all. And if you just draw your belly button gently down, you're kind of activating those low core muscles. See if you can use that then to keep the pelvis not completely glued to the floor, but fairly stable. So you're not sort of rocking all over the place. And it might mean that you have to make the circles really small to do that. Good. And then hug the knee in. Brilliant. And release it down to the floor. And then we'll take that left knee in, interlace the fingers, draw it to the outside of the ribs, and then maybe extending that right leg out, toes up towards the ceiling. Good. And then releasing the knee so the knee and the hip are in line with each other. And you start those little circles again. Don't hold the breath. Draw the belly button gently down. Good. Relax the shoulders. And maybe start the circles in the opposite direction. Good. One more. And then draw that knee in. Give it a little hug. And press the foot down onto the floor. Bring the other foot in. So let's have the feet hip distance apart here. Hip distance is about 2 fists apart, if you know what I mean. So you're not bringing the feet out to the edge of the mat. Toes are pointing forward. Good. And then we're just going to press the palms of the hands down onto the floor Should be no tension in the neck here now. And also, if you've got a cushion under your head, you can take it out. Brilliant. Okay, so we're going to lift the hips up now into bridge, so we don't want anything under the head. So just draw the belly button gently in and lift the hips up. So the knees, the hips and the ribs and the shoulders are all in one straight line. So press the floor away with the feet here. So draw the belly button gently in. So we're just firing up the glute muscles and the backs of the legs. Keep those knees hip distance apart so they don't fall together or they don't fall out to the edge. Good. We're going to lower the bum back down towards the floor. So you gently tap it off the floor. Inhale and then exhale to lift. And again, inhale, tap down. Exhale to lift. Inhale, tap down. Exhale to lift. Good. Let's do 3 more. Inhale, tap. Exhale, lift. Inhale, tap. Exhale, lift. Last one. Inhale, tap down. And then exhale to lift. And then we're going to roll the spine down onto the floor. So just take an inhale. You're going to exhale through the mouth as you roll each little vertebrae one by one, all the way back down until you're on your pelvis. Good. Okay. So we can do that again. We're going to lift the hips up, but this time we're going to fire up the hips or the glute muscles of the legs a little bit more. So come with me if you want to on this, or just stay with the hips lifted. We're going to take an inhale, exhale, lifting the hips up. So again, just checking that the knees, the hips and the ribs are all in one straight line. You're not dipping down or you're not pushing up the hips too high. Press the floor away with the left foot. Like really, really press it in, and then see if you can float the right knee so that the knee and the hip are in line with each other. So the toes are pointing forward. You're really pressing into that left leg. Draw the low belly in. If you're feeling this in your low back, don't do it. Good. And then bring that right foot back down onto the floor. Brilliant. And then press the floor away with that right foot. So really, really press, press, press. So it becomes easier then just to float that left leg up. Keep lifting the hips. Keep breathing. Good. And then that foot taps down to the floor. Take a big inhale here. Then exhale, rolling all the way back down through each little vertebrae. Brilliant. You come back into that neutral position and you can just hug the knees in over the belly. Maybe rocking on that low back. You can do little circles. Brilliant. And we're going to come all the way up to sitting. So a nice thing to do here is to hold on to the back of the legs and see if you can kind of roll yourself up. So just bring the feet back and a little roll all the way up. If you didn't roll up, totally fine. Good. So we're going to come onto our hands and knees. Brilliant. Okay. So the knees and the hips in line with each other here. Knees hip distance apart. Hands underneath the shoulders and shoulder distance apart. Good. So spread the fingers really wide here. Good. You're going to take an inhale and drop the belly down and open the chest for a cow. And then exhaling, tucking the tailbone under. The head comes down. We come all the way up to cat or angry cat. Good. Inhaling all the way through. And then exhaling all the way up. Good. Inhaling and then exhaling. Let's do 2 more. Inhale and then exhale. Last one. Inhale and then exhale. And coming back to a neutral position with the spine here. Good. And from here, just shift the hips back a little bit behind the knees here and walk the hands out in front. So we're going to come into a puppy pose or like a half down dog. If the shoulders are tight, you can rest the elbows down onto the floor. If you want to have the elbows lifted, that's totally fine too, but just kind of see how it feels. Drop the head down. press the floor away with the hands. Draw the low belly in. So you might really feel this in the shoulders. I feel this in the shoulders, especially first thing in the morning. And you can rest your head down onto the floor if you want. Good. Keep the length in the spine. So slightly tuck the tailbone under, so you're not pushing the ribs too far down towards the floor. Good. Another breath or two here. Good. And then just lifting up and walking the hands back. Brilliant. We're going to take the right foot forward so that the knee and the ankle are in line with each other here. Curl the toes of the left foot under and bring that left knee back so you're not resting in the middle of the kneecap. You're kind of towards the top of the knee. Brilliant. Sometimes if the knees are very sensitive, the towel or the blanket underneath the knee that's on the ground can be really useful. Brilliant. From here, you can stay here if you want to, if this kind of feels like enough of a stretch. Otherwise, you're going to lift that back knee up off the floor and push out through the heel. Brilliant. And just maybe bring a little bit of movement into it here so you're not kind of static or stuck into it. Good. Drop the hips down a little bit. Even kind of play around by lifting the hips up and then bringing them back down again, pushing out through that left heel. Good. It always feels nice to kind of come out of it and then drop yourself into it. Good. And then from here, plant that left hand down onto the mat. We're going to open up through that right side. You can keep this left knee down the floor for all of this as well. It doesn't have to be lifted. Just see how that feels. Good. You can look up towards that right thumb if you want, or you can keep the gaze straight out. Brilliant. Take that right hand down, bring it to the inside of the right foot and walk the right foot out towards the edge of the mat and then bring that back knee down. Flatten the toes here. Good. From here, we're going to just lift our foot so that you're just on the side of that foot, that right foot, and allow the right knee to drop out to the side. Good. And then taking the hand, the outside of this, which sounds really complicated, take the hand to the outside of the foot and walk the right foot towards the center of the mat. So the foot is underneath your nose here and the knee is still dropping out to the side. Shoulders away from the ears. Good. So you're in this sort of half pigeon pose. Brilliant. And then you're going to see if you can get that right foot over towards the left side. So for pigeon, we're going to bring the right leg down. I'll just move out of the way here so you can kind of see me. So pigeon is where you're trying to get this shin bone in line with the top of the mat. And if that kind of feels like it's too much, you just take the foot back in a sleeping swan position here. You curl the toes under the back foot and lift that back knee. And bring it back a little bit, flatten the toes. Good. Just finding the position for the front leg. If you want to use your cushion or your blanket underneath that right hip, go ahead and do that. Shoulders away from the ears, so it's quite intense on the hips here. Good. And then from here, maybe bringing the elbows down onto the floor. Good. See how you go there. Brilliant. Maybe you want to stay here. Maybe you want to bring the head down onto the hands. If the foot is in the pigeon position, make sure you're flexing the feet so the toes are kind of towards the top of the mat. You're pressing out through the heel. And then you just try to relax yourself into this, which can feel kind of impossible sometimes if the hips are tight. Just connecting back to the breath. You might find that over the next little while that hip will start to release a little bit, especially on that exhale. A big exhale through the mouth can really help as well. Good. And start to come out of it now. So slowly bring yourself back up onto your hands. Curl the toes under the back foot and lift the knee back in towards you a little bit. Good. And then you can just take that right leg back. And we're going to come into down dog. So curl the toes under, draw the low belly in, hands are shoulder distance apart. You really spread the fingers wide. And lift the hips up and back. Good. Dropping the head down between the shoulders, nodding yes and no. Maybe walking the heels one at a time. Pressing the thigh bones back. Good. Maybe even moving the hips around here a little bit. And then bringing the knees back down onto the mat. We're going to go for that left side. So bring the left foot to the top of the mat. And bringing that right knee back. Good. So you're staying here if you want to. Or you're curling the toes under that back foot. Lifting the back knee, pushing out through the heels. And again, just playing around. Lifting the hips up. Dropping them back down. Good. And then planting that right hand and opening up through that left side. Pushing out through that right heel here. Good. Lovely. And then that hand comes down and you're walking the left foot out to the edge of the mat. Good. And then bringing the foot onto its side, just opening that hip a little bit here. Back knee can be down on the floor, just to remind you, you don't have to have it lifted. Good. And then the hand comes to the outside. You walk the foot into the center and drop the knee out. Good. Again, back knee can be down. Brilliant. So everybody bringing their knees down onto the mat now, and we're going to go into pigeon on that or sleeping swan, whichever you decide, on that left side. So you squirrel that foot over, bring the knee down, lift the back knee, bring it back a little bit, flatten the toes, and just hang out for a moment or two, maybe getting the blanket under that left side. Elbows come down. Maybe this is enough. Maybe you want to bring the head down onto the hands. Shoulders away from the ears. And then just trying to connect with the breath here. Good. And slowly coming up onto the hands. Brilliant. You lift that back knee, bring it in a little bit, and then just get that left leg back. And we're going to come into down dog again. So again, the hands are shoulder distance apart. Really spread the fingers wide, draw the low belly in, curl the toes under, and whoop, back into your down dog. And again, just walking the feet, maybe moving the hips a little bit here. The head just hanging down, nod a yes, and shake a no. Shoulder blades moving down the back. And just pressing back through the thigh bones. So you're straightening the legs and lifting the hips up at the same time towards the ceiling and drawing the heels down towards the floor. So lots of actions. Good. And then from here, just bringing the knees down onto the floor. Toes together, knees apart. So you can bring the knees as wide as the mat if you like. And then just sitting the heels, the bum back towards the heels. Again, if you need to stick this blanket or cushion underneath the hips, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, you can bring yourself down towards the floor, resting your head on your hands. You can have the chin rested into cupped hands like that. Or you can bring the head right down towards the floor. And once you figure out kind of what position is best for you, just connect back to the breath again. Good. And then just slowly, slowly walking the hands back in. Draw the knees together. And then let's see if you can sit down onto the feet. Just like that. Rest the shoulders down, maybe close the eyes. Lift up through the crown of the head. Good. Open the eyes, and then just from here, a little twist in this position here. So just bringing the hand, that right hand to the outside of the left knee, and then bringing that left hand behind. Lift up through the crown of the head, drop the shoulders down. And then releasing back to center, and the same on that other side. So the left hand to the outside of the right knee, right hand behind. Lovely. And then releasing back to center. Let's bring the hands underneath the shoulders again. Good. Lifting back up into a down dog. Brilliant. And then slowly walking the feet towards the hands, or the hands towards the feet. Doesn't matter. The feet are hip distance apart. Let the head go. Little bend in the knees here. Shoulders, arms are released. And then very slowly pressing the floor away with the hands and just rolling up through each little vertebrae, one by one, till we come to standing. Lovely. Good. Let's take the feet wide on the mat now. Good. You're going to turn the right toes out to the top of the mat, left toes out like that. We're going to come into Trikonasana, so triangle pose on the right side. So your right heel and left heel or left arch are in line with each other here. Good. Lift the arms up to shoulder height. Reach out over the front toes. Just drop that hand, and wherever it lands is totally fine. It doesn't have to be right down towards the floor. Just take the left hand now and open up through the chest. So sort of draw a line from the arm across the chest and all the way up. Those left fingertips up towards it. You can look up towards the left thumb if you like, if it's kind of okay for the balance, or you can look straight out in front. But really thinking about opening up through those left ribs and lengthening through the spine. So the crown of the head moving the same direction as those right toes. Lift the kneecap up on that right leg. Brilliant. Have a couple of breaths here. Well done, everybody. Lift up from the inner arch of the left foot. So you're going to press down to the baby toe side of that foot. So if you can open up a little bit more through the ribs. Make sure that right shoulder is away from the ear. And the shoulder blade is moving down the back. Brilliant. One more breath here. Press the floor away with that right foot. Come all the way up. Brilliant. Drop the hands down. Let's roll the shoulders a couple of times here. Good. And then turn those right toes and then turn those left toes out towards the back of the mat. Good. Again, just lining up the feet. Good. Lifting the arms to shoulder height. Brilliant. Reaching out over those front toes and dropping that hand down. Good. And then let's just sweep that right arm all the way up the left, across the chest. Opening up, looking up towards that right thumb or looking straight out in front. Just working on opening those right ribs now, turning them back. Long through the spine, the crown of the head reaching forward. That left shoulder. What can happen is the left shoulder kind of curls in. So I'm just going to rotate it back. Good. Pressing into the baby toe side of that right foot. Lifting the kneecap up on that left leg. One more breath here. Well done, everybody. Press the floor away. Come all the way up. Drop the hands. Turn the toes. Brilliant. Turn those right toes out again. This time, hop that left foot back a little bit further. So we're going to come into Warrior Two, which is kind of a wider stance. So it's a lunge into this right leg. What you're really looking for here is kind of the openness on the inner thighs. So as you bend into that right knee, let's just kind of work through it here a little bit. Just have a little look. Make sure that that knee isn't kind of dropping forward, that the knee and the toes are in line with each other. Good. Drop the hips down. And then think about lifting the low belly in. Good. And then lift the arms up to shoulder height. And then look out over the front fingertips. Good. Drop the shoulders down. Brilliant. And again, you're opening up through the chest. The hips are opening here as well. Brilliant. And then we're going to bring that right forearm down onto the thigh and lifting those left fingertips up towards the ceiling. Again, just watching that right shoulder. So bring it away from the ear. Good. You're pressing the forearm into the thigh. See if you can drop the hips a little bit more. Good. You can reach that left hand over the ear, not touching it, but just in that direction. Opening up those ribs again. If you tend to kind of roll forward like me. Good. One more breath. And keeping the legs in the same position, you're just going to lift the upper body and reverse that warrior. So just bringing that right hand back, the palms facing down. Just a breath or two here. Back into your warrior with those hands and then drop them down. Straighten the leg, thank goodness. And then turn the right toes. And we do the same on the other side. So you're just left toes turning out. Good. And then bending into that left knee. And just kind of seeing how it feels on this side. Again, just making sure that the knee isn't dropping in. Opening up here. Good. Opening across the chest. Lifting the arms to shoulder height. And then looking out over those front fingertips. Those left fingertips. Drop the shoulders down. Lift the low belly in. This is a strong warrior pose. Good. And as the low belly is drawn in, as you breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, you'll feel that the air is just kind of refilling those ribs at the front and the side. Brilliant. And then you're going to come down with that left forearm, lifting the right fingertips up towards the ceiling to start. See if we can drop the hips down a little bit here. Left shoulder away from the ears, and then you're bringing that right hand over, opening up through those right ribs, excuse me. Brilliant. Keeping the legs where they are, bringing the body back into warrior and then reversing it. Good. Palm facing back. Back into your warrior. One more breath. Drop the hands, straighten the legs and turn the toes out in front. Brilliant. Okay, so from here we're going to come into a forward fold. So really stretching out through the back of the legs here. A really wide stance with the legs here. Good. Have a look at the toes. Make sure they're in line. Or the heels actually is probably a better indication. Heels in line. Open the chest. Good. Bring the hands onto the hips. Just draw the elbows back. And then when you're ready, just going to tilt forward slowly, slowly, slowly. Keeping the spine nice and long here. Drop the hands down to the floor. If you're not able to get the hands to the floor, then grab that cushion or blanket and bring it underneath. Or if you have any books or anything nearby, if the blanket isn't enough, you can place the books underneath the hands for support. Shoulders away from the ears. Good. You're long in the spine now. We haven't folded down yet. Good. Maybe you can plant the hands down to the floor. Don't worry if you can't. Good. You're going to bend into that right knee now. Good. That's it. So you really feel the stretch on the inner left leg. Draw the left kneecap up. Good. And then straighten that right leg. Let's do the same on that left side. Bend into the knee. The bum moves back. Good. Lift the right kneecap. Shoulders relaxed. Good, and then come back into center. Lengthen through the crown of the head, and then see about walking the hands back in a little bit and dropping the head down. The elbows pointing backwards. And again, really lifting the kneecaps up on the legs, and that will allow the back of the legs to open up even more. Shift the weight so that it's your hips aren't moving behind your heels. So the weight is evenly distributed between the front and the back of the foot. Good, a couple of more breaths here. Well done, everybody. And then slowly, slowly, just walking the hands back underneath the shoulders. Taking a breath or two here. Good, and then up onto the fingertips. Shoulders away from the ears. Heel toe the feet in a couple of times. Good. Bring the hands onto the hips. Draw the low belly in. And then bend the knees and press the floor with the feet. And slowly come all the way back up to standing. Brilliant. And let's just roll the shoulders a couple of times here. Inhaling to start the circle, exhaling to finish, and back in the opposite direction. Good. Once more. Brilliant. Good. Releasing the hands down, and then just bringing those legs all the way in. Good. Okay. We're going to go into tree pose now, so a little bit of balance. We're going to start with the left leg. So just bending into that left knee a little bit here to start. Good. And then just really firing up that leg. So as you straighten the leg, it's all switched on. The right foot, the heel is going to come to the ankle, or you can bring it to the calf muscle, or you can grab it and bring the heel right up to inside the top of the thigh. Good. My balance is way off. Don't watch me. Get your drishti or your focal point, so a little bit above your eye line or at your eye line. Good. Bring the hands in front of the heart. Lift up through the crown of the head. And then maybe reaching the fingertips up towards the ceiling. Brilliant. Another breath or two here. Then release the hands, release the leg, give a little bit of a shake out. Maybe let's just do little circles with the hips in one direction and then back in the other. Good. Okay, so same on that right side. So bending into that right knee. Good. And really sort of switching it all on and taking that left leg. Oh. Good. Hands to the heart. Lift up through the crown of the head. And then maybe reaching those fingertips up towards the ceiling. Good. Another breath here. And then releasing the hands. And release the legs. We'll shake out with the hips. Good. Okay. We're going to move back down towards the mat. So we're going to come into a squat position here. You may want to grab your blankets. I'll just show you a nice thing to do. So you can roll your blanket or your towel up, or if you haven't got a blanket or towel, roll your mat. And this can be handy if you're kind of tight or the mobility in the ankle doesn't allow you to come down into a full squat. So you're just going to bring the feet just wider than hip distance, toes pointed out or away, not straight in front, and not like way out like that, like a ballet dancer or something. And then just bring the hands in front of the heart, and you're going to sit the bum back down. And again, when you're in this, adjust as you need to. I don't need this blanket, so I'm just going to move it out of the way. Bring my heels down onto the floor. Good. You're lifting up through the crown of the head. If you need to use something and sit on it, that's totally fine as well. And I think I showed you this as well last week. You can also, if it's kind of all not going well, just sit down and bring the feet out like that. Yeah. Good. So with the elbows, you're going to press into the inner thighs and press the thighs back against, or the inside of the knees back in against the arms, and then lift up to the crown of the head a little bit more. Good. Brilliant. Really closing the eyes here. And then when you're ready, just opening the eyes, releasing the hands, maybe bring the hands behind you, find the floor with your bum. Good. And then we're going to come to a lying down position on the floor. So holding onto the back of the thighs, rolling yourself down. Good. And then just keeping the cushion or the blanket close by. If you want to rest your head now onto those, you can. Palms of the hands down onto the floor. So open up across the shoulders here. Just take a breath or two into the belly. Good. Brilliant. And then from here, just bring the knees together and the feet together. Lift the hips up and shift them over towards the left side, just an inch or two. Good. And then drop the knees down to the right. Good. And then bring the hands so that they're in line with the shoulders, or a little bit below. And then you can look out over that left side. A nice thing to do here as well, it kind of releases the hips and the shoulders a little bit here, is if you get that left arm and you do a big circle with that left arm, just sweep it all the way around and then bring it back in line with the shoulder. Good. And then just bringing those knees back to center, the head back to center, shift the hips back, and then lift and move them slightly over towards the right side and drop the knees down to the left. And then again, you can do a big circle with that left arm, or right arm, excuse me. And then maybe looking out over those right fingertips. Good. And then bringing the knees back to center, the head back to center. Bring the hips back to center as well. Bring the arms down. Just hug the knees in over the belly. Maybe rock from side to side or do little circles. Good. And then bring the feet down onto the floor. We're going to come into Shavasana now, which is our resting pose. So doing whatever you need to do to get comfortable here, putting a blanket over yourself, putting your socks on, getting your head on a cushion. What I like to do is to get my blanket and put it underneath my knees. And that really allows my legs to relax. And I'm just letting the feet roll out to the side. Turn the palms of the hands up towards the ceiling. Make sure there's a little bit of space between your hands or your arms and your body. Just take a big breath in through the nose and then a big exhale through the mouth. Just letting the body get really heavy and sort of moving it any way you need to before we just come into stillness. Closing the eyes. Just letting go of the practice now. Releasing the jaw. Allowing the mouth to part slightly, the tongue just resting at the roof of the mouth. Cheeks are soft. Very between the eyebrows. The forehead. Back of the head is heavy on the mat. And all the points of the body that touch the floor are heavy. Just allow the front body to melt into the back body. And just let the back body melt away. And then allow the front part of your brain, the thinking and planning part, just to melt back. Slowly now just starting to bring your awareness back to the room, back to your body on the mat, and back to your breath. Bring a little bit of movement into the fingers, into the toes. And then we're reaching those arms behind, stretching the toes away. A big body stretch. And slowly bringing the knees in over the belly one at a time. Just rocking from side to side. If you can, keeping the eyes closed, you're just going to bring the feet down onto the floor and roll onto your right side, resting your head onto your hands. So you just stay here, taking the last little moment to yourself. And really slowly now, there's no rush at all. You're just going to start to make your way back to a seated position. So if the eyes are open, just keep them not all the way open. And maybe sitting back up onto your cushion. Just coming back to that seated position that we began the class with, so dropping the shoulders down, lifting up through the crown of the head. Again, just tapping into the breath. Noticing if there's any changes. Maybe there aren't. Maybe it's easier to sit now. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's exactly the same. Totally fine. Good. And then if you want to, you can bring the hands up against the heart, not the chin towards the chest, and just give yourself a little thank you for bringing yourself to class today. And I thank you also for coming. Namaste. Happy Saturday. Good work. See you soon, hopefully.